Okay, so once we've started to work with these rational expressions, the next thing is simplifying them. So this is essentially the polynomial version of reducing to lowest terms. That's basically what we're doing. And so the move is going to be, if you're given something, maybe we'll just sort of put an example up here that we have to kind of work with. So say, for instance, we've got, x plus 3 over x squared minus 9, right? Okay, so it's sort of a standard, excuse me, rational expression. Pretty simple polynomials here. What we're going to do, right, is look to sort of factor everything, and by that I mean both the bottom and the top. And in the same way that if you were trying to reduce a fraction to lowest terms, right, you're going to break it down into its prime factors, and then you're going to cancel any matching factors that line up on the top and the bottom. Now, part of this, what we were doing in the last video, where we have to sort of find the excluded values, right, any sort of values that need to be taken out of the domain, that's still in play. So let's actually do that first. Find our restrictions. Right, so that means x squared minus 9 is not allowed to be 0. And I'm going to say do that first because part of doing that is just factoring that polynomial anyway. So in some sense, if we start with the restrictions, A, we just have them kind of done and we don't forget about them, which probably will happen if we save it. And then B, what you're going to do is factor, in this case, x squared minus 9. This is another nice difference of squares, right, where you're missing the middle term. There's no B term here. And 9 would, of course, be 3 and 3. So this would be kind of x plus 3 and x minus 3. Right? So you do a factoring bit anyway, which is sort of what would be the next step. So finding the restrictions, you factor it. That's part of what we would do to simplify this. So we're not really sort of losing any steps. In some sense, we're getting kind of a 2-for-1 here. We'll get two restricted values, right? So x plus 3 cannot be 0. That means that x cannot be negative 3. So we'll kind of take a note of that. X minus 3 cannot be 0. If you add the 3 over, that means x is not allowed to be positive 3. You're probably starting to see the pattern here, where when you're doing the factoring and trying to find the restrictions, essentially what you're getting is kind of the opposite number that you get when you factor. That's kind of how this is going to go, honestly. So let's mark these, right? These are sort of our restrictions. We'll kind of make a note of these. And then we'll sort of go over here and we'll just factor everything. We'll kind of go back to this. So this is x plus 3 up top. That is not going to factor, right? That just kind of is already as simple as it could get. And we said x squared minus 9 over here is x plus 3 times x minus 3. So once this is broken down, what I'm looking for, right, are matching pieces, not just a 3 and a 3, but this whole term, this whole like little mini polynomial, x plus 3. If I'm going to cancel that, I need to match it exactly with what's on top. And so what can be helpful here is maybe even throwing an extra parentheses around the top if that doesn't have anything to sort of factor. That way you can really kind of see the individual chunks here. And so what will cancel is this entire x plus 3 with the x plus 3 on the bottom. In the same way that if you had, right, 8 over 10, right, would be 4 times 2, would be 5 times 2. You could cancel the 2 and the 2 and be left with 4/5. So the x plus 3 cancels, the x plus 3 cancels. So this simplifies down now to 1, right, because you're simplifying by dividing over x minus 3. So that's our simplified version, and that's where, right, our restrictions, x is not allowed to equal negative 3 or positive 3. So it's the reduced version and it's the restrictions, right? It's kind of both of those things together get us this simplified version. So it's the kind of cleaned up, reduced version where we're also still keeping in mind any of these restrictions.